Yes, so we arrived to the last chapter in Sefer Shmuel Alef. As I said already many times, there's no really any reason to divide it between, especially not right here. I mean, the next chapter in the first chapter of Shmuel Alef, the second Shmuel, is to continue right where we are here. So there's no even, even if you want to divide it for two, it doesn't look like the right place to stop. In the middle of the story about the death of Shaul. But this is the way it was divided by the Tirgum HaShivim, by the translation to Greek. It's how do you say? It's a moment of finishing something, right? You feel something, even though again it's not the right place to stop. Now the chapter is short and sad, but also has some encouraging points or something positive, I would say, about Shaul. So we were speaking negatively about Shaul in the last few chapters, few weeks or few months even, but we shouldn't forget that he is considered a good person, even though he did all these bad things. In the base, and also overall image of Shaul is always considered as a tzaddik. And this, the death of Shaul, which we're going to read in this chapter, is reflecting that his courage and his self-sacrifice. That he dedicates so much for Am Yisrael. Anyway, the chapter starts where we finished. So remember, we were focusing on Shaul, focusing on David. Shaul and David was like going from between the two stories that happened in the same time. So we left David after he saved his family and all the city of Tziklag, all the people of Tziklag. He saved them from the Amalek, and he is in the south. And now we are focusing again in the north, in the war of Shaul, and it goes very fast. The Plishtim attacked Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Plishtim, and many fell on Mount Gilboa. So it's immediately, without any hesitation. Not explaining too much. They lost from the beginning. It was lost battle. They didn't make it. The Mefarshim said, that immediately they ran away. They didn't even try. I don't know. It's not that the Bible doesn't tell us the details about that. It may happen that they fought all day long, and then in the end they lost. It doesn't say exactly how the battle went. It just say that Am Yisrael were fleeing in front of the Plishtim, before the Plishtim. It's something interesting that it mentions that they fell on Mount Gilboa. So you can say in around Mount Gilboa, but it's saying on Mount Gilboa, Behar Gilboa. When we saw in the beginning that where the camps were in front of each other, there was in the the downside, under the mountain, not in the mountain itself, in the plain under the mountain. And it says that they fell on the mountain. So we can explain that because the strength of the Plishtim was their chariots. And it's only efficient in the plain, not in the mountain. So we can understand that maybe they started the war in the plain, and they saw that they are going to lose, they are losing, so they try to run away. Where? To the mountain. This is the best place where the Plishtim don't have the advantage of having the chariots, because they cannot use them. But the Plishtim were so strong, and the defeat was so total, so they even could go to the mountain. Even in the mountain, that the mountain considers the strength of Am Yisrael, the Plishtim could kill them there.
They didn't have the chariots. Militarily, if they went to the high ground, they would be able to fight them better because they would have...
So it's advantage to be in the mountain for those who come from the plain. And I say that also it would be the advantage of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael lived mainly in the mountain, and the Plishtim lived mainly in the plain. So the home court, home field of Am Yisrael is a mountain, and the home field of the Plishtim is a plain. And even though it was there, still the many fell on Mount Gilboa. So this is the general description of the battle, and then it's go focusing on Shaul. So the Plishtim pursued Shaul and his son. So apparently there was a group of the leadership together, Shaul and his son and some other strong soldiers around them. And the first that fell were, and the Plishtim struck down Jonathan, Avinadab, and Malkishua, sons of Shaul. The three sons of Shaul. There is another son, Ishboshet. We are going to meet him in the next book. So he wasn't here. So there are several explanations why. First, that he didn't go to battles. He was the one who was kept home, maybe to be the continuation leadership. I saw one explanation, interesting, that says that they didn't send to the battle more than 3 children from a family. We saw that in the battle against Goliath, there were 3 of the sons of Ishai, even though there were 7 children. But only 3 were in the battle. So maybe they only limited the number of soldiers that can be from one family to 3. So this is another explanation. What?
There is rule in IDF to send 2 brothers together or something like that. There is something that after the first Lebanon war they did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And the other explanation that he was there and he was the one who could escape. He was also in the battle. But what we can see for sure from here is that Shaul didn't hesitate in taking his sons to a lost battle. Even though again it was Am Israel before my family. I need to go to the war again. Remember the story. We saw that he already received the information that he's going to lose the battle. He's going to be defeated, and he still went to the battle with his children. He didn't try to. He accepted the divine justice, and he didn't try to save his children. They came with him. Jonathan, we already know. Malkishua was mentioned before. Avinadav appears here in the first time. Some Farshim say that he was the youngest, but the strongest in the battle. So that's why he appears before Malkishua. Anyway, the first we saw that Am Israel were fleeing, and then the Plishtim are getting closer to Shaul himself, and killing his son that apparently were close to him. And then they arrive into Shaul himself. The battle raged around Shaul, and some of the archers hit him, and he was severely wounded by the archers. So here the translation said severely wounded, but the Hebrew word is not very clear. It says vayachel. Vayachel, it can come from the word machala, sickness, meaning being wounded. It also can be the word of the word chil meaning fear. He was very afraid from the Morim. So what we can see from here, the fact that it was needed to send the archers is apparently they couldn't arrive to Shaul himself from the close. Apparently there was a strong groups of soldiers that were more or less protected, and they couldn't arrive to them in a battle of one by one of people that come by leg. So they sent those who shoot with archers. Sometimes it was like that. We know that other kings killed like that, like we have the story of Achav in Sefer Melachim. Okay, so they sent him, and apparently he was wounded from the archers. He understood that he's close to the end. Here he's doing something that there is a machloket about that. So Shaul said to his arms bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, so that the uncircumcised may not run me through and make sport of me." What does it mean, make sport of me?
Like torch him.
I know the Hebrew, what the English means. To mock him, to make fun of him.
To make a game out of it, to make a game out of torturing.
Okay, so the word in Hebrew is it'alelu. Not run me through, but to pick me with the sword and torture me. So he wanted his arms bearer to kill him. There is a similar story with Avimelech in Sefer Shoftim, where a woman from the building threw the stone, and he was severely wounded, and he asked his arm bearer to kill him because he didn't want to say that he was died in the hands of a woman. It was considered humiliation. And in this case, in the case of Avimelech, the arm bearer did that. He killed him. In this case, the arm bearer didn't want, but his arms bearers, in his great awe, refused. Great awe of what? Of making a sin, being traumatized for the battle, or great awe of Shaul? I think the last one. The respect and awe that he had to Shaul. It's no awe in the meaning of fear. In Hebrew it says vayira, yareh. Yareh can mean he was afraid. He couldn't do that because he was afraid. Or like the translation here, it's like some kind of respect, of reverence for Shaul. He didn't want, so you see that even though all what's happened before, people still respected Shaul a lot, and he refused. Whereupon Shaul grasped the sword and fell upon it. So what Shaul is doing here is killing himself. Is it allowed to kill yourself?
No.
It's not allowed. Did Shaul make here another sin? There is a extended discussion in the Mefarshim, the Rishonim, about this action. It looks like the Gemara, before the Rishonim, the Gemara itself praised this action. It shows that in a positive way, and this is how most of the Mefarshim.
Because it's different position.
Yes, so there are several explanations why this action was justified. First, some say, and there are some consequences to this explanation. Some say, if you know they are going to torture you, and you prefer not to suffer, it is allowed. This is open a door for a very, very complicated and problematic issue. If I know I'm going to suffer, am I allowed to commit suicide? So every person that is sick and they feel bad and he said, well, I prefer to die. And what's about mental difficulties? It's also so everybody that doing that because some kind of a pain. No, so it's quite clear that in Judaism we don't say that in order to avoid suffering, you are allowed to kill yourself. There are questions about allowing people not to prolong their life. Meaning, maybe you're not obligated to connect people to machines that will artificially will prolong their life. This is another issue, but you're not allowed to disconnect machine. You're not allowed to shorten the life. You're allowed to prolong. There is a story about one rabbi in the Gemara that the Romans burned him to death. And his student, and his student told him, open your mouth so you will die faster. The fire came into you, and he refused because it says it's like killing yourself. So you're not allowed even to shorten the life in order to avoid suffering. But some say, in this case, when you know torture is such a horrible thing, it's really something that people can do horrible, horrible things. It's like other level of suffering. When we say, in a case like that, it may be allowed. So this is the first explanation. We can also say that here it's more than that. They would obligate him to make sins. Some say that the word torture is similar to the word torture that we saw in the story of Pilegesh Bagivah, meaning rape. And again, with the case of men, it's considered even worse than the case of women. I don't know if everybody should agree with that, but at least in these times, it was considered much worse to be raped as a man than to be raped as a woman. So they're going to make sins out of him, of what they call sport here. I mean, in a way that it's more than that. So if they're going to obligate you to make avodah zarah or things like that, you are allowed to kill yourself in order to avoid that. This explanation was in a big discussion in a horrible, horrible case in the times of with the pogroms of I don't remember. I think it was Chamilensky.
In Ukraine, there is
yeah, so in the Cossacks pogroms. I think it was this case. I don't remember exactly. There was a story about place when the news are going to come and take all the children and convert them to Christianity. And the rabbi there killed the babies, the rabbi killed the children. And it's caused a big discussion. He said, I want to save their soul. It's better to them to die as Jews than live as Christian. And the other rabbis that was in front of them, he called him murderer. And he said, you're not allowed to do that. So it's caused a big discussions in these times, in the different rabbis' response, what you call the writing response about that. Some say that in order to save the soul, you are allowed to kill the body. Over there, it wasn't suicide, it was murder, right? The person, the man killed the children. So some say in order to save the soul, you're allowed to kill the body. Some say it's not up to you.
We have no instances of this.
What?
First is in England, in York. It's a long time ago.
They burned.
What happened was there was a pogrom and the Jews went into the Tower of York, and they were being besieged, and apparently it was going to be they were going to break through the Gentiles and kill them all, and they committed suicide.
Yeah, but you don't have to go until England. In Israel, we have the story of Masada.
Yeah, so
Masada. So the Masada caused, again, big discussions, machloket, dispute between two modern day rabbis, both of them from the Orthodox, or the Tzionut Datit, or the modern Orthodox, or how do you call that, National Orthodox in Israel, between Rabbi Goren, who was the Rav Rashi of Israel, and Rav Neria. Rav Goren said what the people in Masada did was right, because they want to save, they didn't want to live as slaves and to be obligated to do, to live like that under the Romans, so it was allowed. And Rav Neria said the action of the people of Masada was a sin. So it's a big machloket about that. Anyway, so the first direction that we say to that is it's not allowed. It's allowed to kill yourself if you are going to suffer in a great way, like torture in the hands of the enemies. The second explanation is you are allowed to do that in order to avoid forced converting, or other kind of things. The third explanation, it was that it was very unique to Shaul, because it's the honor of the kingdom of Israel. You are a king, you're not anyone. Anyone maybe, they can take you, make you slave, you're not allowed to kill yourself. But if they are going to humiliate Am Israel by torturing the king of Am Israel, by disrespecting and humiliating Am Israel, the entire Am Israel, in this case, it was allowed for Shaul himself to do that. So this has a different explanation, and some say that it was wrong anyway. But it's never allowed to kill yourself. But again, most of the Mefarshim, and based on the Gemara and the Midrash, that not only saying that it was allowed, but it was a mitzvah, in a way that he wanted to keep the honor, dignity of the king of Am Yisrael. Anyway, Shaul himself killed himself, fell on the thought. So about how exactly he died, we're going to continue seeing in the next chapter. In the next chapter, I will tell you very shortly, someone came to David and told him, I killed Shaul. And it was Nar Amaleki. It's also very symbolic. Amalekite boy. How do you say? Pal. Young man. And it's contradict what it says here. Here it says that Shaul fell on the sword, and the Amaleki says that he killed him. So some say he just lied. He thought that David hates Shaul, and he wanted to say, I killed him, in order that David will give him something. And the reaction of David was totally the opposite. But others say it wasn't a lie. He fell, and he didn't really die yet. He was hardly wounded. Unlike the movies, if you're touching a person with a sword, he's not dying. It's taking more than that to kill a person, right? So even falling on a sword, it's not something that will kill you immediately.
You have to bleed out.
Huh?
You have to bleed out.
Yeah, unless it's really very, very accurate in the heart or something like that. It would be very easily to die like that. So he fell on the sword and he was bleeding for a while, and then the Amaleki guy came and killed him. So this is another. We will see that next chapter with Hashem. Anyway, when his arms bearers saw that Shaul was dead, also he said that he saw that he was dead. You can understand that he saw that he was dying, not dead. Right? It's not necessarily. That the Hebrew kimet Shaul can be understood in the past or in the present. kimet is meting, is dying, right?
Now, like,
Yeah. He too fell on his sword and died with him. And the conclusion, then Shaul and his 3 sons and his arm bearers and all of his men, and as well as all his men. What does it mean, his men? Apparently, it's a close unit that was around the king. Died together on that day. The result of the war was returning back to the old days when the Plishtim ruled Am Israel very clearly, or at least most of the places. And when the Israelite inhabitants on the other side of the valley and on the other side of Jordan saw that the men of Israel had fled and that Shaul and his son were dead, they abandoned the towns and fled. The Philistines then came and occupied them. So you can see that the word occupation is related to the Philistines. Not to the...
already.
Yeah. Anyway, returning to that, what does it mean? Valley, the other side of the Jordan. So the other side of the Jordan is easy. It's where today is Transjordan. It's Jordan, right? It's the other side of Jordan, the eastern side of the Jordan. What is Be'ever Emek? The other side of the valley. So we can say it's Emek Israel, the same where the war was, which is if we have Eretz Israel, we said that several times, right? So the Plishtim mainly are here, near the coast, right?
Guys,
The war was here, Emek Israel, around here. Here is also valley, and here is mountain. I don't know if Meital, can you see the board?
Yes.
Okay. So this is valley, more or less, Bik'ah. This is all here, it's plain, which also can be called valley, plain. And this is Emek Israel that connected between both of them. We will see that Bet Shean, which is around here, was in the hands of the Plishtim. And so we can say that all the people that lived here escaped. It looks strange. I mean, it's far away from the Plishtim. So apparently the Plishtim has some powers also in this side. It can also some explain that this is the valley, meaning all the near the coast. So the Plishtim extended their influence from this zone to the north, all the coast. Right? Anyway, but what is interesting to see that again, where is the strength of Am Israel? In the mountain. It says that they escaped from the valley. And where they escaped for where? Am Israel didn't disappear. They escaped to the mountain. So apparently, again, the Plishtim are controlling all around the place, but mainly in the plain zone. And in the mountains, Am Israel could still survive in some way.
Historically, when enemies came to Eretz Israel in the Greeks, the Romans, they always controlled the plains, and the Am Israel was always in the mountain.
Mountain is harder.
What's the population today of the coastal plain?
Yeah, it's easier to live. It's easier to live in the plain. It's easier to defend the mountain. Yeah. Anyway, it looks like when they killed them only from far away with the archers, because it says only in the next day the Plishtim came to strip the slain. So that was they used to do after the battle, to take all the value things from the dead people. And they found Shaul and his 3 sons lying on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head and stripped him his armor. And they set them throughout the land of the Philistines to spread the news in the temple of their idols and among the people. They placed his armor in the temple of Ashtaroth, and they impaled his body on the wall of Bet Shean, or Bet Shan. Bet Shan, most explain that it's Bet Shean. Anyway, it's very interesting to see, I think, that it's to compare it to what David did with Goliath. It's exactly the same thing. He cut his head and took his arms and put it where? In the temple, in the tabernacle. Also what we see from that is the religious aspect of the war, which is something that still continues until today. Many times people fight in the name of God, and when they win, they relate this victory to God, and when they are defeated, they relate this defeat to their sins. So apparently this is happening. I mean, also we are doing that, right? And we can see that all around the Bible. When we win, because Hashem wants, and when we lose, it's also because Hashem wants. But also we can see that it was a culture in other nations also. For that, the Plishtim, they are sending the head to let everybody know that they are the winners, and sending the kelim, the armor to the temple. We can also see from that the importance of Shaul for Am Yisrael and for the song, right? It wasn't just any victory to send his body or his head all over the cities of Philistine to let everybody know, meaning our big enemy for many, many years, the one who started to defeat us. Because until Shaul, if you remember before, we saw that until Shaul, the Philistine were always stronger than Israel from the days of Shimshon. Shimshon that could do something against the Philistine was killing here or killing there, 1,500. It was never able to liberate Am Yisrael from the Philistines. The first who could liberate Am Yisrael from the Philistines and have as strong as kingdom as they had was Shaul. So this was a huge victory for them. To see that Shaul, the big enemy, was dead, that was something that they were so proud of it. So they sent the body, they sent the head, and of course they impelled the body to humiliate him and to let everybody know, spread the voice about his loss. This is something that, for example, in the Torah, it's not allowed. It's not allowed to leave the body more than in the same day. After that, it's an obligation, even for the enemies. Yeah. Okay, so this is the end of Shaul.
So what they did with the Goliath head?
So I don't think they kept the head. They kept the sword.
The sword.
If I remember correctly, the sword. And just last point that we are another circle that we are many closures in this chapter. One of them is again the cloth of Shaul. We saw so many times this cloth is the main object in these stories, and the final loss, they are taking away his armor. Kelav, it says here armor, but kelim many times is bgadim, is cloth. Okay, now we have another closure, interesting one. Let's remember what's happened in the beginning of the story of the kingdom of Shaul. He was named by Shmuel to Shaul, but people didn't accept him. See, people mocked him, and he was silenced. And then was a story of the people of Yavesh Gilad, that Nachash Amuni demand them to take away their eyes or to die.
What a lovely
and yeah, and Shaul was the one who saved them. It was a huge victory, and he was the first one that was able to unite all Am Yisrael. Usually, at Sefer Shoftim, we saw all around the book, this tribe won, this tribe won, never all Am Yisrael. So it was the first time that Shaul could united all Am Yisrael and he went and saved the people of Yavesh Gilad. And now this is a closure when they are returning him this favor. So the stalwarts, and when the inhabitants of Yavesh Gilad heard about it, what the Plishtim has done to Shaul, the stalwarts among them, stalwarts meaning the strong, the courageous, among them set out and marched all night. All night, the same as Shaul marched all night the night before to the Balatao. We said that the last part of the stories of Shaul are always in darkness and in night. While David, the first part was always in the day, in the light, and the last part was always in the night. While David was in the day. So this is like a symbolic way to paint things, right? Set out and march all night. They removed the bodies of Shaul and his sons from the wall of Beth-Shan and came to Yavesh and burned them there. This is also a very problematic halachic problem we have here.
To burn the body?
Member of the Chevra Kadisha, to burn the body.
No, but in the time of the Mishnah,
are we allowed to do that? Yeah?
No, in the time of the Mishnah, they used to bury the body until it's raw.
To burn them.
Not to burn.
The simple explanation, which most of the Mefarshim say, and also the Targum, not them, the bodies. There are other places in the Bible when a king dies, they are burning all his stuff because nobody is allowed to use the stuff of the king. His clothes, his crown.
It used to be with the slaves.
No,
in the other culture.
no, not slaves, but all his properties, the objects, right? Not the house, because it goes with him. And like it says, "Asulo srifa gdola" in some place, a big fire for him, meaning he had a lot of stuff to burn. So this is more logical that they say. Some other explain that they put strong materials that consume the flesh. The reason for that was usually what they used to do in the old time. They used to bury a person. After a few years, all the flesh was consumed, was disappearing, and they took the bones and buried the bones only, which take much less space. Many people talk about doing that today. Yeah, because it's become a huge problem. For example, in Israel, in 100 years from now, we have to find a new 10 million graves, right? Because all the people that live now are going to die in 100 years, 120 years. Where are they going to bury everybody? There's no place in Israel. So they are speaking about solutions, but it's very hard to change something because all the traditions are very, very strong about burial.
So they buried people like in the Tefachim, but not in a casket, not in a box.
No, that's not true. That never. But I mean, it's after they took the bones and buried them in another place. In this case, it was too dangerous to bury him as usual. Why? The Plishtim now has the power. They're going to take the body and humiliate it again. So they wanted to make sure that nothing would left very, very fast. And maybe also, according to this explanation, it could be also fire, real fire, in order to avoid the Plishtim from taking the bones, taking Shaul again, and returning him to his place. So they wanted to make sure that this is final, and burned. So all that they burned. More logically, the explanation is that they burn the things that are related to them, but also if we can say they burn them in some way by material or by fire, it was in order to avoid the Plishtim to take the body again. So then they took the bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree in Yavesh, and they fasted for 7 days. So this is also quite rare. We never find in other places in the Bible 7 days of fast. We found 3 days.
Maybe it was more than a couple of days, but not fasting.
Yeah, we saw murmuring 7 days there is, several places. About Yaakov, it said 7 days. And so it's 7, the 7 is mentioned, but mourning or doing aspect, eulogies. But fasting 7 days is the only place in the Bible that it's mentioned such a long fast. Of course, it's not days and night. We found day and night 3 days with Esther. In the case of Esther, it was 3 days. So it's maybe Vayatzumu Shivat Yamim. Apparently, it's mainly the people of Yavesh Gilad who felt personally debt to Shaul, a commitment to Shaul. And again, we saw how important it was for him, how respectful it was for him. And even though it looks like it's end with something bad, it's something sad that show respect. Right? The respect to Shaul. Usually we try not to finish in something bad. Like I said, it's not really the end of the book. But we can see that in a positive way that we are rendering honor, right, to Shaul in the end of his life. So, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Mazal tov for finishing the Shmuel Alef. It's the third book, Baruch Hashem, that we are finishing. Hashem,
Thank you.
continue next week with a new book.
Thank you.
Hello, Matal.
And